Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Truth Tellers Mike. We are going to have a deep discussion on how power works in any industry, not just the entertainment industry, throughout different various industries, right? Most actors, singers, and performers start young, not necessarily children, but hungry. Hungry for opportunity, for validation, for someone to believe in them. That hunger makes them the emotionally open and eager to please, which predators read like a map. And the abuser positions themselves as the key holder, the one who can unlock their dream. In in Hollywood and the music industry, I'm gonna use that because I can actually describe people. In Hollywood and the music industry, a few people control access, right? To roles, access to labels, access to exposure, access to monetary funding, right? Now that creates an invisible caste system. Those who need opportunity and those who grant it. Predators exploit this imbalance, using their influence to coerce silence, compliance, or complicity. Is not a particular desire in the pure sense. It's power expressed through domination. The system that they are in protects the abuser because profit and image are at stake. So many companies and gatekeepers choose to not see. Victims fear being blacklisted or labeled difficult. So abuse thrives not just in private, but because systems are built to enable it while keeping up appearances of glamour and family. Predators groom by creating dependency. You're special. You're not like the others. Don't ruin your career by talking. They isolate their targets and then use shame or fear to keep them silent, which can break a person's sense of worth. You can be 19 or 39. If you're desperate to hold on to your dream, to not be replaced, to stay relevant, that's a form of vulnerability too. Predators don't just prey on youth, they prey on need. This isn't about individuals, it's about how the industry monetizes people's energy, their beauty, and their talent, often stripping away their boundaries for the sake of image. When you commodify people, their humanity becomes negotiable. And that's the most dangerous part. A small circle of powerful people, executives, producers, label heads, casting directors, they'll decide who gets access to opportunities. This tight circle creates a bottleneck. If one of those gatekeepers is abusive, they can control not just the victim, but the narrative. They can block careers, they can kill stories, or label a victim as difficult, so no one hires them again. Fear of losing access keeps people silent. Many artists, many artists are pressured into signing contracts that include gag orders or non or NDA clauses, right? Which are non disparagement clauses. On paper, it's about protecting trade secrets or brand image. In reality, it's also a legal muzzle that can stop victims from speaking out without risking lawsuits. Even settlements after abuse comes with NDAs, which erase patterns from public view. Publicists, PR teams, and crisis managers work to protect the abuser's brand. If a rumor surfaces, they spin the story, discredit the victim, or they'll leak counter narratives. Powerful names buy silence with favors, jobs, or threats. The appearance of perfection becomes more valuable than the truth. In most workplaces, you have HR or unions. In Hollywood and the music industry, most people are freelancers or independent contractors. That means no formal HR to file a complaint with. no guaranteed protections, and no guaranteed health coverage. If you're harassed or assaulted, you're on your own. Predators know that even if one victim escapes, a new crop of dreamers will arrive next season. The system is a conveyor belt full of ambitious, unprotected talent who will risk or take risks for a shot at making it. This turnover protects the predator because their supply of targets is endless and silence is normalized. Victims are made to feel complicit. You wanted this? You're not as innocent as you act. You'll ruin your career. That shame works like a lock on the door, keeping victims from talking and keeping the predator untouchable. At its root, the industry is a profit system. Stars make money, scandals cost money, and exposure ruins investments. Companies protect the abuser not because they approve of abuse, but because they fear losing their investment. So silence becomes a business decision. When you add all of this together, you get a system where the abuse is not just hidden, it's structurally insulated. And unless the structure changes, not just the faces, the cycle will continue. Because abuse, especially in places like Hollywood or the music industry, doesn't just happen in dark rooms or hidden corners. It happens inside systems that were designed to protect it, not protect you, protect it. You see, when I say abuse is structurally insulated, I don't mean it's an accident. I mean the walls were built thick on purpose. Every layer, the contracts, the managers, the agents, the lawyers, the media spin, it's like insulation foam around the truth. Soft enough to absorb the noise, thick enough so the screams don't leak. And here's the crazy part. Most of the people within that structure will tell themselves they're just doing their job. The assistant who ignores what they saw, the publicist who cleans up the story, the executive who says we can't afford bad press. They don't see themselves as villains. They see themselves as protectors of the dream. But in protecting the dream, they destroy the dreamers. Because the system doesn't need to believe the victim, it just needs to believe the brand. And that's why silence gets rewarded while truth gets punished. They don't want the truth to fix things. They want it contained, controlled, buried under a headline that fades by next week. When you live inside a structure like that, you start questioning your own reality. You wonder if it's worth speaking up when every door depends on your silence. And that's when the system wins. Not because it's strong, but because it's believable. The real danger, it doesn't look evil. It looks professional. It looks polished. It looks like opportunity. But under that polish is a network of quiet agreements, unspoken rules that say protect the money, protect the image, protect the abuser. That's how abuse becomes insulated, not just hidden, by being woven into the structure itself. So when we talk about breaking the system, it's not just about firing one man or canceling one name. It's about pulling out the wiring, the one that rewards silence, that shames survival, that calls exploitation a career move. It's about tearing down the insulation so light can finally reach the foundation. Listen, in a system built like this, truth is optional. Image is mandatory. The system doesn't need to believe you. It doesn't even need to believe itself. It only needs to believe the brand. The brand is currency. It's the shield. It's the story that keeps money flowing and the dream alive, even if the dream is built on people's pain. Once the brand is protected, everything else becomes negotiable. Your boundaries, your health, your reputation. That's why predators survive in these industries, not because no one knows, but because everyone has been trained to protect the brand first. Protect the image, protect the investment, protect the story, no matter what it costs the human beings inside it. And if you ever dare to challenge it, you're not just going up against a person, you're going up against a story that's worth millions, even billions. That's why the backlash feels so big. But here's the quiet power you hold: brands can't survive without belief. When enough people start believing the story and start believing the truth, the brand collapses. And so does the shield that covered the abuse. That's when light finally gets in, right? You ever notice in this world, truth doesn't always win? Because in some systems, especially the ones that sell dreams, truth isn't the product, the brand is. See, the system doesn't need to believe you. It doesn't even need to believe what's real. It just needs to believe the brand, the perfect image the public will keep paying for. And once the brand is protected, everything else becomes negotiable. Your pain, your boundaries, your silence. That's why the predators last so long in these industries. I've taken you behind the curtain for a second. You might think the brand protects itself. It doesn't. It's protected by people. People who have been trained, rewarded, and sometimes broken into protecting it, right? And that training starts the moment they walk in the door. First, they'll give you a taste of the dream. They'll say you're special, you're chosen, you're not like the others. And once you feel chosen, you'll do anything to keep your seat at the table. That's how silence begins, not as a threat, but as a survival instinct. Then comes the contracts, the NDAs, the just sign here moments, paperwork dressed up as opportunity. But hidden in the fine print is a leash on your voice, a legal muzzle wrapped in a handshake. Next, they build a culture of complicity. Assistants look away. Colleagues whisper warnings but never speak out. The press kills a story for access. They don't call it covering up. They call it protecting the brand, and little by little, you're taught that the image matters more than the human beings inside. So the system doesn't have to threaten you anymore. It just has to make you depend on it for work, for validation, and for identity. You start to think, if I speak up, I lose everything. And that's exactly the fear that keeps the walls standing. But listen close. Systems are just agreements stacked on top of each other. They look like concrete, but they're made of belief. And belief can be withdrawn. When people start choosing truth over access, when silence stops being the currency of survival, the brand loses its shield. The abuser loses their cover, and the system begins to unravel. So if you've ever felt crazy for noticing the cracks, you're not. You're just seeing what you were never meant to see. And the more of us who see it, the more impossible it becomes to hide. The system only needs to believe the brand until enough of us stop believing it, right? The culture of complicity is built. That's something that you need to understand. It's not built by monsters, it's built by scared, talented, well intentioned people who were slowly convinced that the truth is too expensive. But the moment one person chooses integrity over comfort, the spell breaks a little. Because complicity thrives on collective silence and dies on individual courage. Image is mandatory in this world. The moment you step in certain rooms, they don't ask you who you are. They ask what you look like being. They study your surface before they ever care about your soul. Because in the system, image is the currency. It buys silence, access, and it buys forgiveness for the powerful. and invisibility for everyone else. They tell you, protect your brand, keep your reputation clean, but what they really mean is don't look broken, don't look real, don't look like truth, because truth is messy and messy doesn't sell. So people start polishing themselves down to something marketable. They stop being human and start becoming profiles. That's how the system keeps its control. Because if you're busy managing your image, you'll never question theirs. You'll trade authenticity for approval, one filter at a time. And before you know it, the mask becomes the membership card. But here's the part they never say out loud. Image can't save you when the lights go out, when the crowd goes home, when you're left with a reflection and it doesn't clap back. Because what good is a perfect image if the person behind it is breaking in silence? So, yeah, in the system, image is mandatory, but truth is revolutionary. In the moment you choose truth over appearance, you stop performing and start living. That's when your life really begins. And I'm going to leave it here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.